Hey, what's up, y'all? We are vlogging today because I have a few interesting things going on today. And by interesting, I mean I am not sitting at my computer and editing and uploading videos all day today. I'm actually, running some errands, doing some things. We outside today, so I figured today will be a good day to just kind of take you all along with me as I'm doing all the things. A few things that I have on my to-do list for today is I need to cut, measure, and ship out some fabric because shout out to you. You know who you are. I believe her name is Precious. She reached out to me and said, hey, that fabric that you shared on your YouTube channel, I'd actually like 2 or 3 yards of it. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cut and shipped out today. Thank you so much for supporting me and being a part of the creative crew. If you're not subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead, hit subscribe and join the crew. Next on my to-do list for today is I have a YouTube office hour. It's like a webinar, a brief call, like a check-in with your YouTube partner manager and I believe some other creators. So I'm going to be joining that. I'll probably take that call from my car depending on the timeline of things. And it is design week over in SF, over in San Francisco, and I was invited to come out by Adobe. So I'm going to head into the city today and check out that event and potentially do a little bit of fabric shopping while I'm in the city. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, those are all the things that I have on my to-do list for today. It feels very content creator things. So yeah, I figured I would just take you all along with me. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get this day started. Okay, so I am headed to the city to go to the Adobe event, but as I was getting ready to head over, I was just like, You know what? I'm not even about to do this to myself today. Meaning, I am not about to put myself through sitting through traffic. Like, some days, you know, I'm down for a little bit of an adventure, but today I'm just like, no, I don't even want to stress or worry about having to get there on time because I'm like, you know, worried about traffic and things like that. Like, if you live in the Bay Area and you are going across that bridge coming from Oakland, going into the city, then you know how it's like a bottleneck, especially when you get to that toll or that bridge. And I'm just like, today I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not feeling it today. So I'm about to get on the BART and I'm going to BART into the city because the thing that I have about driving over the bridge, like, I have no problem driving over a bridge. It's just, I'm just not a girl who enjoys heights, and sitting in traffic while driving over the bridge, I'm just like, I don't want to do that to myself today because it really irks my nerves. It stresses me out and I just cannot do it. Like, I'm the type of person that will go to an amusement park and, you know, like, I'll be a game player, a trooper. I will get on the roller coaster because who goes to an amusement park and then doesn't get on the roller coaster? But the thing about it is, I'll get on the roller coaster and then I'll close my eyes the entire time because I just do not do heights. But the thing about driving across a bridge while operating a vehicle, while in traffic, you cannot close your eyes. And you know, some days I just don't like to play with my life like that. Meaning, I just don't like going through the fear, or not the fear, but just, you know, I just don't like the pressure of sitting in traffic while driving over a bridge and just looking at how high up off the ground I am while driving over this large body of water. Okay? That's just me. That's just me. I'm not doing it today. I'm just not doing it today. Sometimes when I do drive across the bridge, if you're somebody who, like, is afraid of heights as well, I will try to, like, you know what, like, girl, don't worry about the traffic, don't worry about the height. Look at this beautiful scenery, look at these tall buildings, it's so nice out. But today I don't feel like doing that. I don't feel like doing that. So yeah, long story short, I'm taking the BART over into the city. And I'm also thinking about, if they have it available, I'm thinking about trying out one of those self-driving cars. I have been seeing it a lot. I have my reservations about it, but if I have enough time, I think I will, you know, I think I will give it a good little try. We'll see. We'll see. If I have enough time and if there is a car available, I will try one of those self-driving cars and take you all with me. But long story short, I'm just not doing traffic, and I'm not going to torture myself by thinking about or reminding myself that I'm afraid of heights. I'm just not doing it today. So yeah, I'm gonna stop yapping. My train comes in a bit, and then I'll head over. Okay, so I wasn't able to get in one of those like fancy self-driving cars because you have to be in a certain area in order for it to pick you up. So I just went ahead and got a Lyft, and I'll probably try again on my way back. So right now my Lyft is on his way, and I just stopped inside of this restaurant while I'm waiting. I walked a little further down from the BART to see if maybe I could possibly get picked up in this area, but it was still showing that they weren't servicing this area at the moment. So I'll try again another day. And also, this weather here has my hair doing some weird stuff, so I just stopped in here, and then I'll get a Lyft the rest of the way, but I'll check back in with you all once I actually get there.
20 minutes later.
You know, The crazy part is I left early, got on BART and everything just so that way I could arrive on time, only for me to get down here and try to take that other car service, Waymo. They weren't able to pick me up. They weren't servicing this area, to requesting a lift and having to cancel on 2 different drivers. Well, the first one I canceled because it told me I was going to be waiting 10 minutes. I've been sitting here for about 25 minutes waiting. So I canceled that one and requested a new Lyft driver. And then in a matter of me sitting here waiting, it said that the next one was coming in 10 minutes. Then the app rescheduled and found me another driver that's supposed to be closer. And apparently they are 4 minutes away. So we'll see how quickly they get here. But I don't know. I feel like this is a sign telling me to practice patience or something. I don't know. I just think it's funny. Like, I literally avoided driving down here so that way I didn't have to sit in traffic, and now I'm just like sitting in a restaurant waiting on a lift. I didn't think traffic was that bad, but apparently it is. So yeah, I'm just waiting. I've had literally a turkey jerky and everything. Actually, this was pretty good. The pepperoni kind, good. So yeah, I'm just waiting. Yeah, it says they're 3 minutes away, so let's see.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
It's literally, the driver was literally 2 minutes away. 2 minutes away from being here, and now it's saying finding a new driver. At this point, I'm just about to get back on BART because this is ridiculous. Yeah. So I'm in my Lyft. Literally, as I was walking out the restaurant, a new Lyft driver came, and I got down here at 5 o'clock. Literally, in the amount of time that they rescheduled the amount of lifts, I probably could have took either public transportation or walked. But if I didn't have, natural hair, it wasn't so cold outside, and all the things, I probably would have walked and probably would have made it there on time. I'm getting there probably, it says arrival time 6:36. So yeah, about an hour and a half. I should have got down here an hour and a half earlier just to go within I would say like 5-mile radius to the event. But on the bright side, at least I'm not driving in this traffic, and eventually I'll get there. But yeah, still on my way there.
Anniversary of San Francisco Design Week. We are so excited to be a part of it. Hopefully we will be a part of it next year, and maybe get a bigger space for all y'all, because you just keep showing up, which we love, but we hope you show up for all the rest of the amazing design community. So there's info on some of the chairs. I know they're having a raffle, info on the chairs, but shout out to San Francisco Design Week. Thanks for turning up for their events this year.
How many of you have used Image Tracing Illustrator? Oh, of course, most of you, because it is really one of the most important features, which allows you to trace a flat image, such as the one I have over here, and then, that way you're able to convert everything into editable vectors. So now with this selected, I'm going to go to image trace, and then basically the image is already traced. Now let me expand the properties here on the right hand side, and I'm going to change the preset from this default to high fidelity photo. And boom, just like that, everything is actually traced already, so it's very fast. But that is not everything. Now, if we go to the Advanced tab, we now have an option to recognize gradients in the image. So even the gradients can become editable. If we zoom closely, we can see that we have some kind of other bending. No problem. I just need to increase the smoothness. Now hopefully you can see on the projector, now it's all nice and smooth like that, alright? And then let's click expand, and as you can see, all of that has been traced, right? And then I'm also able to, select my gradient, and everything is editable. So as you'll see, we can change the colors, and I can also drag and drop my color swatch, boom, just like that, right? And so this was Adobe Illustrator, a lot of cool new features. Let's move to Project Neo. All right. So I'm super excited about this one. Project Neo is our web-based 3D tool. It allows you to create really awesome 3D scenes, characters, and whatnot by combining primitive objects which are kind of provided for you. You can also use type, and you can import vector objects, extrude them, and combine everything together. Project Neo is really designed for people who are not 3D professionals. We like to think of it as an extension to Adobe Illustrator, actually. So we've tried to, have a lot of functions which kind of play in the same way. For instance, if I hit V, I'm in the select tool, so I can now select my cube. And since this is a 3D scene, I can actually rotate this object around, or actually the camera. So I'm going to take the camera around, but since I have this object selected, I can also scale it, I can rotate this guy around. And if I click A, I'm in the edit mode, just like in Illustrator. And this allows me to bend edges, for instance, like this, and to modify my shape. Now, let's change the color and make this a little bit more interesting. So here I'm going to change this to maybe something like red. And let's drop roughness so it's nice and shiny, like this. Now, this cube is looking kind of sad on its own, so I'm just going to do Command D, copy this guy, move it up here. Now we have a tube. For this one, I'm going to change the color, and this is where the magic is going to happen. Because what we're able to do is we can combine these 3D shapes together by using the combine effects over here. So far we've been using the editing mode, but check this out. If I increase blending, now I can actually blend these two objects together, and not just shapes, but also colors. And everything in here is procedural, which means that I can now move this around just like that. So we call this the liquid vectors. It's just so much fun to play with that. And, you can really build some cool stuff with this. You can also change the mode. So for instance, from the edit mode, we can choose to repel. So now they're actually going to repel themselves like that. All right? If you want to be more precise, let's turn the blending back to 0. And I'm going to turn on the carve. So now we can actually carve one object with another, just like this. And as I said, everything is procedural, so I can still go into edit mode, and then you're going to keep changing the shape of this object, and everything is going to be, in real time, kind of reflected in the scene. Okay? So far we've been using the so-called realistic style. But I can switch to something like pixelated, like a really cool pixelated, style graphics, or even vector art. And so now this looks very similar to something you would create using Adobe Illustrator. I can maybe turn down the opacity of the thickness a little bit, so it's nice and thin like this. And you can even change something like lighting. So if I go to my environment, I can rotate the light around, and as you can see, the shadows are actually now moving with the light. So this saves you a ton of time, because obviously, we're working in 2D, you wouldn't be able to do anything like this. Alright, so from here, you're actually able to download this image as a vector file, or a PNG file, or even an MP4, and you create a turntable out of it. But this time I'm actually going to try something a little bit different. Let's delete these objects and go back to Illustrator, switch to this pizza over here, and as you can see, this is a cool pizza that my colleague made. And let's select all these shapes. I'm going to copy them, go straight back into browser, and then paste this into the scene. And hopefully it's going to work, but maybe not. Of course, it's not a demo if everything works well. So let's just delete these guys and paste. There we go, as promised. So now we have our pretty pizza. Now it's very thick, kind of like what my grandma used to make in Serbia. It was delicious, but pretty thick. So it's made more like Italian crust. So I'm going to ungroup all this, and I can scale this down, of course. I can go to edit mode and bevel these edges, make it nice and smooth. And you see how fun this is. It's just so much fun and easy to play. Let's, select all these salamis and scale them down. So really get, the kind of effect we want. And actually, I'm going to go back to my vector art style, like that. So this looks cool as it is. However, let's say that we want to actually add some objects to this scene. Maybe it's a drippy cheese effect. So for that, I'm going to use one of the primitive objects. So let's just drop this egg straight on top of our object over here. There you go. It snaps right in. So I can scale this thing, move it down. Now it doesn't really look like anything. Well, first I'm going to select the slice, copy material, select my egg object, paste material. So now they're sharing the same material. But check this out. If I go to edit mode, this egg object actually has quite a few different tools. So I can stretch it, I can make it more like a dripping cheese, right? So that looks pretty awesome. Let's scale it down. But this is where blending actually comes into place. So now I can introduce blending. Check this out. So now we're getting sound, right? So we can copy this, of course, and then scale it down. And this is what I was kind of explaining with vectors. Everything is happening kind of in real time. And maybe let's copy this one more time, move it over here, make it a little bit bigger, and this looks kind of cool like that. Okay, sweet. So from here, I would like to go to Illustrator and continue working into these. So maybe I'm making a poster for my new pizza place. So I'm just going to quickly turn on the frame, because this is what's going to be sent to Illustrator, right? And I can position my camera exactly how I want it. I can even change the lighting, so I can rotate the light a little bit. And now I'll click share, send to Illustrator as vectors. So there will be one way to do it. And the other one, let me show you the typical way how to do it. Download, and then I can choose the SVG, download this guy, and now this is going to be downloaded as vector file. Alright, let's go back to Illustrator, and then find my downloads. It's right over here. Let's open it up and see what it looks like. There you go. Now everything is in vector format. And if I expand the layer stack, you can see that we actually have outlines on a separate layer. We have our fills, we have our background. Super neat. And now everything, of course, is editable. So, for instance, I can select this and move it around. So that's Project Neo. It is free in beta, so make sure to check it out. All right, let's go to Photoshop. A couple, but I'm kind of feeling it's ruined because of a bunch of cables and all the people in the background. So we have a really cool feature now in the remove tool. So if you go to the remove tool, here at the top you can find distractions, and we have one-click removal wires and cables. So now Firefly is going to remove all the cables, just like that. Okay? But that's not all. I'm kind of not liking all these people because I'm antisocial, so I'm going to find all the people in the background. And then just click here, and this is going to take a second. Now Firefly is removing all the people from the background. And you can imagine how this is useful in situations where maybe you're on a family trip, you took a photo of some attraction, but there's a bunch of tourists. Now you can remove all that. You have the place for yourself. Alright, so let's move to parametric filters. This month, we are going to release a whole new type of filters in Photoshop, and they're called parametric filters. And you have an access to this already in Photoshop Beta. So essentially these filters are created using Substance Designer. So for people who know how to use Substance Designer, you can actually create your own filter. But don't worry if you don't, because we are going to ship with a bunch of parametric filters. So you can just find them over here. And the one that I would like to try is actually this embroidery. So let's click that. And then boom, like that. We have an embroidery badge, which is super cool. And then of course there's a bunch of parameters to change, the thickness of the thread, the rotation, and this is just one filter. It can be anything, right? Just an amazing array of opportunities here. Okay, switching here, I'm working on this composition, and one thing that I would like to do is remove the background. And now, of course, this hair is kind of tricky, right? Plus, it has some motion blur. Removing this will be a nightmare in the past. But now, if we select this photo, in the contextual menu at the bottom, I'm going to hit click, remove background. And now we have a nice mask, which has done a pretty good job. However, I am seeing a little bit of halo around the hair. No problem, because we can select the mask, and then in the refine, you can go to select and mask. And now, check this out. In the output settings, we have these decontaminated colors. So if I click that, now the mask should be absolutely perfect. So this is incredible, I love it so much. Okay, another quality of life update has to do with our gradient layer. So now the gradients here are a new method of rendering. So let's say that you want to change something like the color of this brown orange flower. And of course you could go to select by color, do all of that manually. But now you can go to adjust colors. And now Photoshop is going to extract all the prominent colors which are present in that specific layer, right? So let's click this first of all, and I'm going to go to this kind of brown color, and now I'm only changing that tone. So it's a really neat and very efficient way of changing colors in your layer. Alright, so that was Photoshop, and then let's say that from here we want to maybe save this collage and go to Adobe Express to add some animation, because this is going to be something that goes on the social channels, so I'll add some animation, something that's kind of dynamic, okay? So let's do the cooking show, and I'm just going to switch to Adobe Express, and here, as you'll see, the composition has a bit more elements, but everything is still pretty static. No problem, let's just go to animation, and then check this out, it says animate all, so I'm just going to add this pop-in animation. So this adds animation to everything, right? It just looks completely different, it's so cool, very dynamic looking. Firefly boards, super cool new tool for mood boarding. I've showed you Project Neo, which I'm personally very excited for that one. A lot of improvements in Illustrator and Photoshop. Of course, trying to use Adobe Express to really infuse life into your content. And finally, I would like to mention that we now have Photoshop on iPhone and Android devices, and also it works on the web. So check that out. Finally, something that is probably the most exciting thing of this whole presentation is the Adobe Creative Apprenticeship Initiative. And I'm so happy that my company is actually doing something like this. I'm so proud. So if you scan this QR code, it's going to take you to the Career Resource Center on Behance. For those of you who don't know, Behance is our social platform which allows you to create professional portfolios, so you can upload your work and then share that with your client. So if you scan this QR code, you're going to find yourself at the Career Resource Center, where you can apply for an actual paid project with an internal Adobe team. So for all of you young creators out there, definitely check it out. This is a very cool opportunity. You can also land 3 to 6 months official paid apprenticeship with an agency. All right. So with that, thank you so much for being here, for listening, for being an amazing audience.
switch it up. We got 2 more. Two. Got one last one. All right.
Okay, so a lot happened in my vlog the other day, but I did wanted to quickly sit down before the sun went down and before I lost my train of thought of everything that happened and what stood out most to me at the event. What stood out most to me at the event were some of the features that they plan on rolling out. A lot of the things that they shared yesterday were in beta testing, but it was in Illustrator. That was the program that stood out to me most. And before I share with you all the specifics of why it stood out to me, I think the one thing that we forget, both as a consumer and a user of these products, as well as for the people that create these products and these tools and tech, is we forget to chat about the ways that it can show up in practical ways or in other industries or crafts. So I went to this event because I previously was in the design industry. I worked for a nonprofit years ago, so oftentimes I would just go to different design weeks, and I believe they invited me out because I had previously attended Adobe events, and also I do podcasting, and I have mentioned this on an earlier video on my channel when I was talking about different tech and tools that I use in my content creation process. And one of the most underrated tools, I kid you all not, is Adobe Speech Enhance. It's their podcasting tool where they remove the background noise as you are recording audio. And initially, and how it's advertised through Adobe is they advertise that users who are making podcasts, that they use this software. But I like to chat about practical ways that you can use like these different tech tools, gear and gadget, because you have to think creatively and think outside the box. And I think that is one of the most underrated tools, because I use this tool, Adobe Speech Enhance. I use it a lot of times when I'm editing any of my videos, especially if it requires like a voiceover, or if I want to clean up any audio as I'm just like out and about and vlogging. The background remover tool, it works phenomenally when it comes to clearing up any unwanted audio, especially if you film in a place where it isn't like soundproof, you're not in a recording studio or anything like that. And so initially I got the idea to use that software when I was working with a freelance video editor when I was working my 9-to-5, and I seen him use this software to just clean up any audio that didn't sound good in any of my videos. And that just kind of unlocked in my mind like, oh, like, yeah, why don't I just use this more frequently when I'm editing my videos and creating content? And so I wanted to sit down and chat through, like, although Adobe Illustrator is primarily advertised for, you know, people that work in that software, in that program, I think it can be used for everyday people, even like people like myself, or even you that are watching this. If you are a crafter, a maker, or a sewer, you don't necessarily have to be a designer. Excuse me if I have the wrong language or verbiage, but like I said, traditionally it's marketed towards podcaster, but you have to think creatively and outside of the box and practically, like, okay, what are some other ways I can use this tool? And I think it's both just like feedback for the people that are building these products, as well as for myself as a consumer and a user, of thinking about like, okay, they have this ideal person in mind, but I can also find use in this tool. How do I make this work for me? And I think that's been the biggest thing that has allowed me to get over any technical hurdles that I encounter, is I have to remind myself they may not be thinking about the crafter, the sewist, the videographer, and all the other different hats that I wear, the business person. So it's up to me to creatively think about, how does this fit into what I do? And something that they shared yesterday during the design week was the main thing was a tool inside of Illustrator that was, you know, something that really stood out to me. They had a few other products that they highlighted, but the feature inside of Adobe Illustrator where you can essentially take sketches or 2D designs or just like flat surface images and give it some depth. You can start to see how text can fit onto screen printed shirts, hats, or other designs if you're into that. And I can see so many other ways that this tool and this feature can be used. They even did a demonstration where they took like a sketch of a bracelet, and they took like a string of the bracelet as well as the beads on the bracelet, and they digitally put it onto the bracelet. And you can now use the software within, I believe it was Adobe Illustrator. You can use it to now rearrange it and see how it looks before you actually create it. And I think that it is game changing, because especially with the rise of AI and just even when Photoshop became a thing, like a lot of people were able to point out when something was Photoshop, especially when it's those people who have those print on design shops. You can tell when somebody has uploaded like an image or text and they've removed the background, they just kind of placed it onto a shirt and it doesn't really resemble like what it will actually look like. I think inside of Adobe Illustrator, it's still like in beta testing. Everything that they shared and the things that I'm talking about right now, it's still in beta testing, but I can definitely see the potential of it because it adds texture, it adds depth, and it starts to really, you know, you can definitely see they're trying to make things feel more realistic with the tech, the tools, and the software. And again, I think that traditionally it might be marketed towards designers. And even how I found out about it, I think I just attended one of their previous design weeks from years ago when I was working within the design industry. I would just go to design weeks and check out what people were doing. I wasn't necessarily a designer, but I like going to these types of things to get creative inspiration, to learn how I can confidently talk more about my craft and see the ways in which other people are talking about their business and their craft. And that's what was most inspiring to me about attending this event, is not only did they share what new things are rolling out within their products, but they also made the space for other creators and designers to be spotlighted and highlighted how they use the tools and how these tools show up within their work. And again, you all, I'm just like blown away at especially like the example where they showed the ice cream cone, where you can now see it as an embroidered ice cream cone. Think of if you are, you know, a quilter or somebody who sews or you print out patches or whatever. Now you can start to see the depth and the texture of things. So if you're one of those people where you have a hard time articulating your ideas, but you're good at writing it out, there's some people who are really good at sketching out their ideas or writing out their ideas, and they may not have the tech or the design skills, but you can definitely see they're bridging that gap of the non-technical people and the technical people and trying to figure out how to make both of those worlds collide, so that way this whole design world or this creation process, it isn't non-inclusive of people who doesn't come from a technical background, if that makes sense. But I can see it. I can see the efforts being made. I can see the vision, as I like to say. So yes, it was a really cool event. It wasn't the best getting there for my hair. You all seen what I was going through to get there, but nonetheless, we got there. I was inspired. There was food. There was a place to build your own pen. Of course, what is an event if it doesn't have a photo booth? It was all the things. And so I left there feeling really inspired to just see what other ways they are rolling new things out and how I can continue to incorporate it into what I do as a videographer, as a podcaster, as a content creator, as somebody who sews and does all the things. And so yeah, let me know if there was anything that stood out to you within this vlog. what is something that maybe was shared that you're excited about using, or if there is something inside of the Adobe suite that you're already using that you think is so underrated and is a slept on tool that more people should know about. This isn't sponsored by them. I do have an affiliate link because I actually do use Adobe Speech Enhance, but the rest of this stuff was just, you know, me doing me. So hopefully you got some inspiration out of this video, or, you know, at least enjoyed watching this. That's all I have to share today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.